17th century Japanese monks mastered meditation while playing flutes with a basket on their head. And now you can benefit from their wisdom without actually having to play an instrument. Or wear a bag over your head, really. And all you have to do to get one is pay... Oh, wow. That is quite a lot for what is basically a 2-inch long tube with a hole through it. I mean, couldn't I just 3D print this? That question was posed to me at the Makerspace. Couldn't I just 3D print this shape? Now, before I tell you what I told that patron, let me talk a little bit about what this is and what it isn't. Upon hearing about this, I thought, yes, if you are feeling stressed or anxious, taking a deep breath can entirely shift your mood. You just have to make sure that you're getting an 8-second exhalation. In fact, let's try it right now together. I'm serious. I'm asking you just to take a deep breath in and then breathe out, but try to hold that exhale for 8 seconds. And while you do, try to be aware of your body and your feelings and see how it makes you feel to do this. You ready? Let's do it together. Do you see how that felt? Yeah, doing a long breath can absolutely change your mood, especially if you're feeling stressed or anxious. You don't need to have anything with it, but you know what? Fine. If you absolutely have to have something, here. There you go. There's something that you can breathe through if you want. This was the thought process that went through my mind the first time that I heard about this thing. But then I got to thinking about it, and I realized, first of all, that I was being a bit sarcastic, and secondly, that if you are somebody who suffers from anxiety, that you get those anxious feelings and they just happen all of a sudden and it snowballs in a way that you can't stop it, remembering to take a deep breath, especially in the moment, can be something very difficult to do, and having a piece of jewelry on you to remind you to do that may be possibly literally a lifesaver. Now let's go back to the question. Couldn't this be 3D printed? The patron who came in and asked me that in the Makerspace, well, they asked me in the Makerspace, and if you ask me in the Makerspace, my answer is going to be, why yes, you can absolutely do that. And I took them and I showed them Tinkercad and I showed them how to do that sort of thing. Because at the Makerspace, my answer is not to take a commission. My answer is to motivate you to do it. But as soon as they left, I thought, oh, I could totally do this. So I whipped out Blender, my weapon of choice, and decided to see how quickly I could tackle this thing. Okay, we got Blender all set up here. My default cube, of course, has been turned into my build plate. This is the build plate on my FlashForge Adventure 3 150 millimeters squared. Let's just add a cylinder. Now, this particular tube had very specific dimensions. It needs to be 2 inches long and 3/8 inch in diameter. There's a couple of ways you could do this. You could edit the settings in the add cylinder menu, but I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to jump in edit mode, move everything up by 1. That way when I exit edit mode, the origin is down here at the bottom, and then when I edit the dimensions, if I scale it up, it stays with its bottom right there, and I like that. Okay, let's get these dimensions on. First of all, I said 2 inches. Now here is the feature I want to show you. Remember, if you set up Blender the way I showed you, we're working in millimeters. How do we get inches from millimeters? Well, it's 25.4 millimeters per inch, but I need 2 inches. And check this out in Blender. Times 2. Boom. There is 2 inches, 50.8. Blender does the math for you right in there. All right, now we need that 3/8 inch in diameter, so that's 3 divided by 8 all times. This is the feature that I wanted to show you in Blender, that you can, in any of their boxes, just type in a math function and it will calculate it for you. I wish that more text boxes, anytime that you're asking me for a number, I want to be able to type math in there and have it just compile to the answer of the math that I'm doing. I love this about Blender, and I wish more programs did this. Woo-hoo. Okay, let's get that 3/16 of an inch here. So I'm going to start with 25.4 times 3 divided by 16, and boom, we got that. And then I'm just going to copy and paste that into the second one. And there we go. Is that 3/16? I think that's right. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay, so that is our inner bore. Now to turn it into the little flute that we can blow through, I'm going to go into edit mode and take the top and the bottom of this shape and delete them. And then out of edit mode, I'm going to add a solidify modifier on here. Now, before we do anything else, because like if I say, well, I want this to be 2 millimeters thick and my offset to be 1 so it sticks out, you might notice that seems a little bit thick. That's because our scale factor is being applied, so we need to hit Control A, apply the scale, and now the 2 millimeters is 2 millimeters because our scale factor is 1, even though the shape hasn't changed. Now, how thick do we want this? Well, a 0.4 millimeter nozzle on most 3D printers, so this should be some factor of 0.4. So again, using that same trick, I can say 0.4 times, what do you want, 4 walls on there? 4 walls. Boom, there we go, 1.6. Of course, I could have done that in my head, but why do it in my head? Blender will do it for me. Add a quick cube here. Rotate it 45 degrees, perfect. Non-destructively difference it out. We're gonna get really crazy and we're gonna make a trapped loop here. I'm gonna add a cylinder. Let's go back to that bool tool and difference that out. Let's add another cylinder. Okay, we're gonna go into edit mode and get rid of the top. And we're gonna get rid of the bottom. Using proportional editing. Love me some proportional editing. Oh, I messed up my top and the bottom, so Ruby, got it back. Here, let's add a solidify modifier on here. So now if we just grab these two and export them, 3D print tool, and export that as an STL. Let's bring that into Flash Print, looking pretty good. Hit print on it, and then just throw that at the printer. And yeah, that's looking really good. Our trap looks like it worked on there. That is fantastic. And there it is. Our simple printed stress relief jewelry is done and ready to go. And it works as intended. You literally cannot blow through this thing quickly. It forces you to make that long exhale. It's absolutely fantastic. But there is a problem with it. See, this is a 3D printed piece of plastic. It's not something that I would necessarily want to have dangling around my neck. It needs to be a little bit more pretty. Now, you could, of course, put words on the outside here. You could use some customization features and put whatever words you want on there. I'd be tempted to put something on there in kanji, but being as I don't speak Japanese, I would be afraid of making a fool of myself. Maybe we could do something else to make this a little bit more fancy. Let's jump back into Blender. So here's a file that I've prepared in advance, and this one's done just a little bit differently than last time. We've actually got a cylinder here that we're using Boolean modifiers to take the hole out the middle and take the cut off the edge here. But that's because we're going to be doing something with this one that's a little bit different. We're going to use the sculpting tool to make our own designs here. Now remember that when you are wearing this piece, that this slant here is actually going to face forward. So switching over to our sculpting tab and turn off all the modifiers so we can't see them. I'm also going to turn on dynamic topology. I'm just going to have a good time just adding details to this and making it, you know, as pretty as I want it to be. This is the time to play. Sculpting tools are a lot of fun. They're also very powerful, but they allow you to just kind of create in a fun way. So getting to know those sculpting tools can be a lot of fun. And the trick to sculpting, or really any modeling, is to start big and work small. So just start with some really broad strokes, get the general shape of what you're trying to do in there, and then start adding details. And don't be afraid to try something new, to do something, to mess it up. Undo is always your friend, but you really can't mess this up. This is your place and your time to just enjoy and really take some time to make something fun and good. Well, you get the idea. You know, using the sculpt tools in Blender is a kind of meditation in and of itself. It's just so fun to just be free and move and do whatever you want, and to start with a plan and to go with it. But one problem with a project like this, when you're modeling something around like that, is it's difficult to do something that goes all the way around. It would be a lot easier if we could simply take this and unwrap it and then draw on it while it's unwrapped. Well, you can't do that. Well, okay, you could, but it's complicated. However, there is a really neat technique. With CNC machining, there's this idea of depth maps. It's very similar to what I've done in the past with lithophanes, in that lighter colors are more forward, darker colors are back. It creates a depth map. But in Blender, we can take that and wrap it around the object. We can use a displace modifier on a round object. And so all we need to do is go online, find a pattern that we like. I recommend Googling for grayscale depth map, and you will find just so many fantastic images, some of which, you should be warned, are for sale, and you absolutely should consider paying for them, because people put a lot of great work into making a good depth map image. I'm going to in particular look for a Chinese dragon for mine. Let's see. And where's the one that I want to use? Ooh, I really like this one. This is very good. I think that I'll be able to work with this. So thank you very much, Tin Shed. I hope that you made it and didn't just get it from somebody else and upload it. But thank you very much for putting this out online. I am going to grab this one, and then I'm going to bring it into Blender. Now, it's important when using a depth image like this to have a mesh with some subdivisions in it, because you can't displace where there isn't a mesh. And in fact, I'm going to use a subdivision surface modifier to increase the number of available vertices. That way, when I put my depth map on there, it'll actually look good. Without that subdivision surface, it does not look good. And you can increase that subdivision surface if you need more detail or less, play with it. See if you can get it to where you want it. But I think 3 is going to work for this one. Now into UV Editor, you can actually edit where the mesh goes. And originally I had this much bigger, and it just was too much detail. So I decided to zoom in and focus on just the face here. And here is the dragon grayscale image displaced on our pipe. And now this is something that I wouldn't be ashamed to be seen wearing because it looks absolutely fantastic. I took one and added paint to it, and then actually I used nail polish and then used acetone to rub the nail polish off of the top so that those depressions and creases just look a little bit clearer. I think this is absolutely fantastic, but with or without the acetone on there, this is worthy to wear as a piece of jewelry, so I'm pretty happy with this. I'm going to have all these 3D models available for you to download, so check the link in the description. And if you are a Patreon member, I'm going to take that Blender file before I started doing any sculpting and upload it so that you can sculpt your own. Have that all set up for you so you can get that going. So if you're interested in making your own custom piece of jewelry, that would be a great way to start. Now, like I said, you could make this in Tinkercad, or you could just download one of the ones that I've had. It's a very simple design, but it's very fun and satisfying to make it your own. And so I hope that this has inspired you and that you'll want to take advantage and make something that is useful but also beautiful, because isn't that what 3D printing is really capable of? And let's give it one more blow just to have that sort of deep breathing. Oh yeah, that is absolutely fantastic. I want to thank you very much for watching, and remember, safety first. I'll catch you next time.